Listen, I have to give shout out, man, to the AV, man, to Perfect Image, man, to my guys over there, to all my G's over there, man. Big Twin, Big Tony, OG Diego, man. Scruncho, and the list goes on, man. Shout out to Perfect Image in Lancaster, man, Atlantic Valley, man. OGs, man, for real, man. Nothing but love, man.
Shout out to that boy Bone.
Big Bone, man. Shout out, man. Perfect Image, man. That's the shop, man. We out here.
We out.
Gangsta shit. Two niggas with attitude.
Yeah, man. Yes, indeed. Hey, listen, man. You tapped in, you tuned in to one of the finest, the baddest, growing, riveting, epic podcast shows around, man. R.O.E, man. 2023, man. It's a new year. It's a new day. It's a new dawn, man. Blessings. God, Allah is the power. Man, I got a special guest in the house with me right now. I wanted him on the red couch, but under circumstances, you know, it's cool. I got him anyway, though. I got the postman himself, Mr. Melly Mail, man. Compton is in the building.
Man, it is an actual blessing to be here. I appreciate you inviting me to the podcast, because it's important that we understand and get to the brass tacks of what we're going through and what we've been through in order to understand how we get out of it. We got into it by group effort. It's going to take a group effort to get out of it. In other words, all the way from the top, the triple OGs, down to what the kids now call infants. They all have to have a say-so. They all have to have a part, because we really don't understand their plight, their struggle. And although we think they took up some of our positions in some of the fights that we had, but it has become so emotional. We got to find a way to get the emotions out of it.
Communication. I always say it. I always speak. That's something I'm hard on right now with the youngest that I speak on. We got to get back to the protocol of communication. See, they feel they can't talk to us. They can't come to us. A lot of my YGs that talk to me, I learned their lingo through my YGs I'm connected with. Mm-hmm. So that's why I know their lingo. Mm-hmm. Just like my son, I got kids growing up in the Millennium area. So I understand the lingo from them. So because I listen to them. Mm-hmm. Like my son came to me, and my baby is in process where, you know, he's finna be 21. My twins finna be 21. And he's like, Daddy, it's that time, man. You know, you've been rocking the Trill West, man. You carried the torch, man. You and Uncle Bun, man. Y'all did your thing. He said, I'm about to step in and, you know, put my stamp down. And he said, I'm gonna give the company a new sound, Daddy. Because my son is an engineer. He can produce. He can write.
Amazing.
He's a computer tech. Man, this dude is smart as hell. And then he speaks 3 different languages.
Yeah, we gotta definitely promote that, and you know what I mean. And not to cut you off, I wanted to tell you how important rapport is, and what you're speaking on is rapport. Being in the commonality of continuance of commonality. In other words, we mirror and match. And what you're speaking on is being able to mirror and match the youngsters and meet them at where they're at, not where you at. Meet them where they're at. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so with that said, like you said, the mirror and match is something I've done with them. Meet them where they're at. Like when I talk to my little homie Klepto is from the 4th generation, and he's one of the young pups that raised up under me and my umbrella as his big homie. So I groomed him, DB, BP, you know, Dirty Joe. I mean, all a list of
Little Dirty.
Yeah. So by them running behind us and under us, they learned from us. And so what I did was I still instill that communication with them. Like, little homie, you can come to me and holler at me, dog. You can talk to me, my nigga. We can talk. If it's an issue, I'd rather you come to me. Get at me. Don't be afraid. I'd rather you talk to me, because afraidness is just like a cat. And you back a cat up, it's pressure. Soon you're going to have to fight, win or lose.
True.
You know what I mean? And so this is why I say it's important for us to get back to the graphics of communication with one another. Like you said, it starts with the elders, the triple O's on down. And we have to communicate, and then they have to be willing to want to communicate. Instead of like, oh man. And then again, most of us that come from our area, you and I, 2nd, 1st generation, are still in the high theory. They still get high. So the respect mechanism is not there from a lot of the YGs. Right. So you got to be an OG who's relevant.
Right.
And that's why I keeps myself in bay. I keeps myself relevant.
Keep yourself in touch, in tune.
Yeah, so that I can be able to communicate with them and get that advice, that good advice, or that great advice, or the advice say, man, look, you do it how you want to do it, but if it was me and I was your age, bro, I mean, I wouldn't take that route.
Yeah, because if you're not in the circle of knowledge, of the circle of knowing what's going on, how can you actually explain it or articulate enough to understand how we get up out of this, how we put the adjustment, what framework, what parameters we have to put around this in order to get it to where we want it to, where it's going to be a protocol per se, and we get on code as black men, not as Crips and Bloods,
but as black men.
We were black before we were anything.
Yeah, and that's what we got to go back to. We got to get out of the design of colors, period. We got to get off the title, period. We're going to take on a title. We got to go back to that BLACK title, period. Black men. Get off the red title, the green title, the blue.
Totally
get off
agree.
the title. You know what I mean?
I totally agree.
So listen, man, you've been struck by lightning, man. You have listened to R.O.E 2023, man. I'm sitting here, man, with Melly, the Postman himself, man. And the topic today, man, is freestyle dialogue, man. We're just giving it to the people, man. And you already know my slogan, man. For the people, to the people, by the people. Uncut, raw, remedy, man.
Right.
Say, Melly, listen, man. As you know, TV Land, I'm one of those hosts. I'm one of those hosts that a lot of my questions are just straight up freestyle. I don't write. I don't jot down. It's all in the head. It's freestyle. And I'm talking to a very articulate one and very intelligent one to where I'm able to do that without a problem. So I want you to just give a slight formal introduction right quick to TV Land and to my viewers and subscribers as to a little bit of who you are and where you come from as far as your original background of the streets before you became this powerful. I call you the professor.
Okay.
I need you to know that now. I'm a confessor. I call you the professor, man.
Okay.
You feel me? Because he carried that type of intellect.
Right. For those who don't know me, I am Professor Melly Mel, better known as Melly Mel, the Hood Postman. I grew up in Compton, born and raised in Compton. My first house I lived in was on the backside of Pillow, back gate of Enterprise. Then I moved from there to 135th and Avalon, or what we're known as 135. From there, I moved over into the Fruit Towns. And that was like, all that was occurring during the 60s when the Black Power movement. And one of the most profound things I heard during that time was that song, was Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, 1968. And then when I saw the Black Panthers with the long guns, the berets, and the leather coats.
Pause. You literally seen them.
I literally seen them physically.
Tell us how that experience is, man.
That was the most profound experience during that time because we were going under so much because of what the oppression of white people and everything they were doing to us from the 50s and 60s. I'm born in 1959, so I was able to see a bit of it and also be a part of what was happening. And then I was also there to see when the United Slaves Organization, the Black Panthers, how they was trying to change the community, policing our communities, standing there. The police pull you and I over, they would be standing right there. And they had long guns. And I'm seeing them riding in these Packards, with these Black Panthers. Oh, man, that was like powerful. Blew me away, right?
Was those the old Chryslers?
Yeah.
Old Chrysler with the Black Panther sticker?
Yeah. So seeing all that, it made something inside of me erupt as a youngster, right? So when I started going to school, I didn't like it because nothing in the school system reflected anything that I ever saw and seen. You know what I mean? I was there when I saw Burn, Baby, Burn, Montague on the radio saying, Burn, Baby, Burn. I saw that. I'm not saying that was a good thing, but that was something that had to happen because the oppression and the brutality. See, because the police have always been weaponized against us because of this, But all skin folk ain't kinfolk, of course, because some of them was on their side helping aid them to come in and attack our community. Just like in your Watts community, when the spook hunters was over on the other side of Southgate and Huntington Park, they would run over the tracks and attack black people in Watts. And then when they would run back and the blacks go over there, then that's when the police would step in. But I know I'm giving up a little track, but back
No. Let's dip real quick there, since you brought that, because I was going to touch on that.
Okay.
And it's funny that he said that, T-Land, because you guys, I've gave you history and I've spoke on how Watts was the hub of Los Angeles at one point when a lot of our people and our members, our family members, was descending from the South and coming into Los Angeles.
Working at General Motors.
Yeah, they couldn't. General Motors,
Firestone,
Goodyear, Firestone.
all
They couldn't go downtown, so everybody stopped and got off in Watts. So most of us who got off in Watts is this how you ended up in Compton or either South Central. So when you grew up, because you was born before me, so in '59 and coming up in the '60s in Compton was really integrated then, right? It was mostly
just the west side. On the east side of Compton was still all white.
The farms was all white, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because I used to tell the story about how the whites used to come down from Compton Avenue in Compton toward Watts to try to beat up on blacks. And so blacks started to formulate these cliques. It wasn't gangs then, they were cliques to protect the neighborhoods. So kind of touch bases on the spook, because you brought that up.
So the spook hunters would come over the tracks from Southgate, Huntington Park, and Downey, and they would literally attack black people on our side of the tracks. And what would happen, the police department, the LAPD, whether it was Linwood, which was all white cars during that time, they had an all white police department in Linwood.
And all white cars.
And all white cars. They was brutal. I'm talking about they was weaponized to the hill to when they see us on sight. One night they got me, my homie BJ, my homie Rat, my homie Big Ruben, and White Boy Greg. And they kept telling White Dog. They kept calling him White Dog because he hung around. And remember they scared him saps. And they whooped us all with them. You know what I mean? And we was only teenagers.
Wow, man.
You know?
Why you think they took on the name Spook Hunters? Because that was a subliminal shot to us.
Yes, because they called us spooks during that time. You know, they had numerous of names. You know, of course, we know the NIGGR name and spooks, and they had a couple of other names that wasn't really, wasn't no description for us, because we were the mothers and the fathers. We the creators of the earth. We the sun. We the light. We everything. You understand? They just don't know. They just forgot who their parents are. See, we their parents, and they forgot who their parents were, because all life expired from a black woman.
Yes, sir.
You know, if you go back and do the genealogy, and you go back and do the history, and go back from years and years beyond the Bible.
Black woman and black men.
There's that. But as for me, content creator, influencer, thought leader, right? I think that both the Crips and the Bloods were born out of mercurial mindsets. Mercurial meaning something that was unpredictable all of a sudden, that had a mood, swing, and temperament.
Jumping right in agreement with that, and it was all based upon, because they was trying to take off what the Black Panthers had left, so they tried to recreate. So that's why it was community revolution in progress. See, that's a name of structure. That ain't no name of genocide.
So, but one caveat, what they did was put a wedge between us and education. You see, because the Black Panthers went to Berkeley, they went to UCLA, they went to UCLA.
They were smart.
USC, they were smart.
Yeah, them dudes were smart.
They put a wedge between us and education, and we took off another week. They made us think, because when I went to school, we reading C. Tom Ron, C. Jane, and all things reflect of white living in white civilization.
It's
nothing.
The Western Hemisphere of education.
Western education is a psychological vehicle or spiritual and intellectual enslavement that has 3 ends: to undermine, underestimate, and undervalue you as a black person. That's just what it is. And I know some of us don't quite get that, because the guys that they have point as religious leaders, or maybe self-appointed by proxy, this Al Sharptongues and this no good Jexy Jacksons, they have sold our people out for generations. Right.
So in essence, what he's saying, TV Land, is it pushes you in a position to where you have no understanding of it, is because, they don't want you to have no understanding of it. You know what I mean? And so on that note, moving along, you grew up in Compton, you've seen all these things coming up as a kid, and seeing how race has really existed, seeing how the white supremacists really ran shit at that time. It was a function where they really, really ran shit. Like you say, the spook hunters, they would just climb their cars and just, hey, nigger, and come over here.
They would come and throw rocks and bottles and all sorts. Because listen, after we knew Fruittown, right, which was another black community, we moved on the other side of the tracks on a street called Spring. It was East Compton. We were the second or third black family on that street. So everybody else was white.
Mm.
So we lived with the Weinbergers, the Swansons, and some of the other Silversteins and all the Jewish people.
Big Jewish people. It's a Compton thing.
Yeah.
Wow, man. Wow.
So, but slowly but surely, some of these people left at night. We didn't even see them move. We just woke up and the house was empty.
Gone. So that's when it started transitioning and turning over.
They didn't want to have nothing to do with us.
They headed to Beverly Hills.
They hit it wherever they hit it. I don't know, but they got away from there.
Wow. So look, man. So growing up, give us a touch of your street experience, because I know that you touched the streets and you was in the streets once upon a time.
My homie Donald Duck Norwood, Stanley Tookie Williams, and Chester Norwood, and Robert Thomas. They were all
the late great Big Stanley took.
They were in Factor Brookings in Banning, California, 71-70. They got kicked out of Banning and wind up in Compton on a street called Pine in Santa Fe at a house called, we call it the Red House. It was a boarding homes ran by Bob Simmons. And what happened, we were having Little League baseball games up in Oaks Park. And by the way, Kenny Landreau, Huey Brooks, both played with the Dodgers. You got Lorenzo Romar, the old man. It's all these guys played at Oaks Park. Little League baseball, which we don't have a lot of Little League baseball. That's another thing they did to us. They literally dismantled that program throughout the urban communities. So one day we was up there warming up playing baseball, and I see all these guys, older guys, like 2 or 3 years older than I, because at that time I was 13. You're talking about 72, right? And they over there, they like in a real deep discussion, you know what I mean? And I see this great, big, huge guy. I remember the day, he had the overalls, one strap down, one strap up. He had the long earring, and he was like this big dude that looked like he couldn't even put his arms down. He was so big, you know what I mean? Looked like he had problems going to the bathroom.
And this was Big Took.
This is Big Tookie. And I just stared at him. Like, wow. Never seen him before. I knew Donald, I knew Chester, Rob. So then they kind of like spread it out and they put this line. And I seen a couple of dudes go down the line. Boom, boom. They like hitting them. I'm like, what the hell? You know, what is this?
So they was getting quartered in.
Yes.
Okay.
This is 72 right there in Oaks Park, Santa Fe and Oaks, and Pine is the back street. So during this time, they had already formulated what was known as Oaks Park Businessman by Donald Duck Norwood, and that they brought that together. The Red House, the Linwood, Crips, Shorty, Wino, Peabody, Shorty, and just to mention a few. And then they bought all the Oaks Park. They had this big, huge meeting, and then later on, the Midtown Crips was there, which was Killer Wayne. Killer Wayne was another hand guy out of my section. Actually grew up over there with my homie. A few homies actually grew up in the Nickersons. You know,
a lot of it. That's the crazy you say that, because that's how it used to be. A lot of people lived in certain areas, big areas now. They used to live there.
Right, like Park Lane,
and they moved
right
out.
there with, where Martin Luther King is.
Yeah.
So all those was projects that are predominantly all the black people.
So in that fashion of meeting those great guys back then at that time, did that become your influence?
That became my
connected
influence.
To the streets.
So this is what helped it, though.
So to add on to that, did you get involved with the Crippin section as well? Okay,
yes.
Cool.
So I'm going to school. I'm going to Whaley, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's 71, 72, right? So prior to that summer, there was nothing at Whaley. When I come back, I'm seeing all these guys move around. They got these auburn patches in their head, and they wearing these, you know, they wearing different type of leather jackets and ace deuces. They look different from the guys I see over here, right? So I'm thinking, like, what's that?
This was the Brims.
No, these are the Pyrus.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, it was really
the Pyrus, right? So the guys that I knew prior to that, they wasn't speaking to me. And then next thing I know, in an instance, they came up to me and say, "Hey, man, don't you ride the bus?" "Yeah, I ride the bus." They said, "Man, you must be a Crip." That was the saddest moment ever, because I ride the bus to school, I must be a Crip. So after they kept saying it enough,
fuck it.
I must be there.
And you was already around them.
Yeah, I was already around them.
Association, you know, association can get you too, man.
Every time, man. So yeah, that's how that came about, and then of course I was, you know, looking at the older guys that was around because, like I say, I was born in '59, so I'm old enough to see the guys that were 66, 67, those guys, you know, the Raymonds and the Tookies, you know. Never met Raymond. I met Mac Thomas, you know what I mean, and Head Honcho, of course, and Bitter Dog Bruno, and Salty Frosty, and all those guys from Marcellus Robinson, and all those guys from the Grandies that had a impact on the city of Compton. But at that time, Compton was like really Compton. They had the two canes with the C's with the H Deuce on top. That was the symbol, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the symbol.
And you sitting right here with history right now, man. History, man. I'm Nino Cappucino, a.k.a. Bunny Hunter, BJ the Brand, representing the Watch Nixon Garden. Compton himself, man. Mr. Postman, Melly Mill. We're going to take a quick snippet break right quick. We coming right back at y'all.